the boy.
Welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there, and I'm back after my long weekend away from YouTube, and we are on to the 5th installment in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and this one's called A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Now, after the success of Part 4, and as I said in my Part 4 review, I hadn't seen that film in at least a decade, and I was pleasantly surprised when I finished that film how much I actually had fun with it, because I never enjoyed that one as a young man. My friends all loved that one. That was the most popular one in my friend circle, but I never cared for it. So sitting down and watching it with kind of fresh eyes, although I did remember most of it, I actually had more fun than I thought I would. Now, I never liked this one when I was younger either, but I probably haven't seen this one even longer than the fourth one. It's probably been at least 15, 16 years since I saw this one. And, well, let's get into it, because this is definitely where the quality started going woo down. Now, like I said, after the success of the fourth one, which was the highest grossing entry in the franchise, Bob Shea was in a hurry to get the fifth one into production, because this was New Line's cash cow at this point. So they hired many different writers to take a crack at this movie. And one of the producers on the film had an idea, because she was pregnant at the time. What if Alice is pregnant and the baby's doing all the dreaming? And that's how Freddy is able to come back and manipulate Alice and her friends. Now, while on paper that sounds like an interesting idea, and maybe it was money, maybe it was time, they didn't execute it very well, but we're going to get into that. Now, once they had a script that they thought was good enough to go into production, they were looking for a director. Well, they hired Stephen Hopkins. Now, Stephen Hopkins had done a few small things before this, but this was really his big break. Now, they gave him 4 weeks to shoot this film and 4 weeks to edit this film, and that was it. That was all the time he had. He was armed with a $6 million budget, which is a little less money than the fourth one, and upon release it made a little over $22 million. This one's rated R, and it's an hour and 29 minutes long. Now, Stephen Hopkins brought the film in on budget and on time, and because of that, he did Predator 2 the next year. That's why Stephen Hopkins got the job for Predator 2, because of how well he handled this production. And then he went on to do Judgment Night in '93, which is a really cool thriller. And Predator 2 is a damn good sequel. It's not as good as the first one, but I like Predator 2 a lot. And he did Blown Away in '94 and The Ghost of the Darkness in '96. All films I like to varying degrees. So I like Stephen Hopkins as a filmmaker. So that, well, I didn't know who he was before this, but he was, like I said, he was only given 4 weeks to shoot, 4 weeks to edit, which seems impossible. And he even said in the interview on Never Sleep Again documentary, which there's another plug for that, check it out if you like this franchise, that he would never do it again, and he doesn't even know how they were able to get all the work done, considering the budget and the time he was given. Now, there was two returning characters from the fourth film besides Freddy, obviously, and that was Lisa Wilcox's Alice came back. She survived the fourth one. She was back again in this one. Her boyfriend Dan is back as well. Robert Englund's back as Freddy, and Kelly Jo Minter plays Yvonne in this film, and she is Alice's best friend. And Kelly Jo Minter went on to do Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs in '91, which is a kick-ass little horror film. If you've never seen that, check that out. I'll do a review for that sometime down the road. And basically, this film starts off with Alice. Alice and Dan are still together. They're about to graduate high school. Matter of fact, in the film, we see them graduate. But Alice, even though she kicked Freddy's ass and killed him in the fourth one, she still thinks about Freddy a little bit. And she starts having weird dreams. And she doesn't know she's pregnant yet. And in her dreams, she sees Amanda Krueger, or the sister from the third film. This is only the second and last time we see Amanda Krueger in these films. And we get to see this scene where Amanda Krueger gets raped by 100 maniacs. We see Alice is dreaming, and we see Amanda Krueger get locked in at Christmas time. All the orderlies leave, and all these 100 men turn on her. We don't see the act, but we get the gist. And Alice wakes up, and soon she finds out she's pregnant. And now that dream sequence is probably one of the better sequences in the film. I like that sequence a lot. I like the way it's shot. I like the set. I'm going to give a couple positives here before we go on with the plot. Well, let's go down the plot a little bit. So Alice finds out she's pregnant, and Dan gets killed shortly after this. In a really cool scene that unfortunately was cut to shit by the MPAA, because they had a hard-on for this franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise. All horror films around this time had to deal with the MPAA. where he's on his motorcycle in his on his motorcycle in the dream sequence, and it starts taking over him, like the wires and stuff are starting to go in his skin. It's a really cool scene, and if you watch the Never Sleep Again documentary, they actually show some of the cut footage from that scene, and it's unfortunate when you get to see that scene in all its glory because it looked like it was really kick-ass. That's another sequence I like a lot in this film. And other than those two sequences, and besides Elise Wilcox's performance, I think she's the best actor. Well, besides Robert Englund, he's always good. Although I don't like his portrayal as Freddy in this film. I don't blame Robert Englund. He was going by the script and what the studio wanted. But this is when Freddy, I know four started it, and this is where they were even continuing it. And then Freddy's Dead, which I haven't seen in probably 15, 16 years. 2, I watched that tonight. I'm keeping an open mind. I hope I enjoy it. I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll see. That's, by all counts, that movie's terrible, but we'll see. So Alice's friends start getting killed, okay, in different ways. A lot of them aren't the greatest. Like the one girl gets fed to death in front of her mom, and this weird scene. And her mom's kind of like the stepmom from freaking Sleepaway Camp. Literally, it looks like they plucked her out of Sleepaway Camp and put her in this film. Just different actress, but they act very similar. And it doesn't fit here either. It's kind of weird. There's a lot of weird shit in this film. It don't really belong, but whatever. The one kid's a comic book nerd, and he's not a very good actor. No offense to the guy who played him, but he's not good in this film. And his death scene, while might have sounded cool, they probably didn't have the money to pull it off. It kind of sucks. A lot of deaths suck in this film. And then once Alice figures out she's pregnant, Dan gets killed. So his parents want some rights to the child, and they think Alice is starting to lose it, so they're worried about the baby. And then you bring up the topic of abortion, which is just out of left field. They just bring it in there. I think they just threw it in there for shock value because, you know, that's the only reason I see it, because they don't really do much with it. They just mention it a few times, and that's it. I think they just mention it for shock value, and it's pointless to even be here in this movie, but it's there. And then at the end, they find Amanda Krueger's body, skeletal remains, and she gets released because Freddy's trying to hide her because he knows she can kill him. So at the end, Alice has a showdown with Freddy back in the church from the fourth one, where he was resurrected in this film when he's rebirthed out of Amanda Krueger. That scene's pretty cool. And Freddy's trying to take over Alice's child. And her child appears in the film in the dreamland, and he's probably about 5 or 6 years old. And at the end, Amanda comes back to help Alice, and Alice's son pukes this flying vomit that goes through Freddy, and that's how Freddy's dispatched. And at the end, we see a shot of Amanda Krueger where Freddy's trying to bust out of her stomach, like be rebirthed again, and these doors slam shut. And that's the end of the film. And as the credits roll, we hear this laughter, which is Vincent Price's laughter from the Thriller video, and that's the end of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Now, Freddy's resurrection I like in this film a hell of a lot better than Part 4. I like Dan's death on the motorcycle. I think Kelly Jo Minter's good in this film. Alice is good in this film. I like the scene in the asylum with Amanda Krueger and the 100 Maniacs, and we get to see Robert Englund with the makeup on in that scene. He walks by the camera, and they linger on him. We actually get to see him twice without makeup on. And when Alice wakes up from that dream, she's in another dream, and he's on top of her. So we get to see Robert Englund twice in this film without makeup on. I like that scene, and other than that, this movie kind of sucks. It was hard to get through. I could see some cool ideas under the surface, and I think time and money were a problem. I don't blame Stephen Hopkins. I blame Bob Shea New Line for this one. They screwed this up. They rushed into production with probably a script that wasn't ready because they had a ton of writers come and take a crack at it. And then they gave the director 4 weeks to shoot, 4 weeks to edit, and it was out in August, a year later after the fourth film. It's never a recipe for success. As a matter of fact, in '89, we had Friday the 13th Part 8, Halloween 5, and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which are 3 big franchises, but Halloween 5 had the same problem. They rushed Part 5, and that didn't do well at the box office either. Now, this movie made some money. It made a little over 22 on a $6 million budget. It was the lowest grossing Nightmare on Elm Street film, though, and it wasn't well received with the fans or the critics, although, like, again, they didn't really care about the critics anyway. It was the fans, and the fans didn't like this film. That's why I think New Line got Freddy's Dead, the next one, to end the franchise, because they knew they kind of milked it for what it was worth at this point. Sadly, there was a lot of mistakes when they went into production of this film. Probably a script that wasn't finished, they didn't give the director enough time or money. And considering how profitable the fourth one was, you'd think they would have upped the budget a little bit to like 8 or 9 million to pull some of this stuff off. Plus, I think the tone is inconsistent. you can see some gothic imagery being brought in by Stephen Hopkins, and there's some dark themes like in the insane asylum and that, and even with Freddy's rebirth. But then Freddy's cracking jokes and one-liners left and right. And I know they started that in 3 a little bit, 4 they took it to the next level, and here they just keep it going. And the tones are butting heads throughout the whole film, and it's a mishmash of different scenes, and again the tone's all over the place, and it doesn't work. It doesn't, as a cohesive film, it just doesn't work. And by the end of the film, I'm like, yeah, it's still not that great. This is not a good entry at all, and for how much I was hoping I was going to enjoy this film like I did part 4, it didn't even come close. There's some good ideas there. Again, I just don't think they had the money nor the time to pull off those ideas. And I like Stephen Hopkins as a director. He wanted to do some films I really, really like, and I've watched several times over the years. It's just this film, he had a lot of things working against him. The studio, for one, Bob Shea, not giving enough money or time, and the rushed production date, which goes into time. And I just don't think he was given the tools to pull off what they were trying to do here, and it shows. Everything seems rushed. And again, like I said, he while they were shooting, he says in the documentary, he would shoot on one soundstage while they were set dressing the next one. So he'd shoot what he needed over here and then run over to the next one and shoot what he needed there. And that was the only way they can get this production done in 4 weeks, which is insane to ask a young director to pull that off. But he did it, but unfortunately the quality just isn't there. So I would give A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 a 4.5 out of 10. It's probably a little, I'm being generous there with a 4.5 out of 5. But yeah, 4.5 out of 5. This is definitely where we're on the downhill slope of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. This is where quality was definitely going down. They were just rushing these things without a finish, without a revised script. This probably needed like a couple more passes on it before they went into production. But no, they just rushed into production because they wanted to make more money. And it shows the lack of care that was taken with this production. Not by the people that worked on it. They did what they had to do to get it done. I blame the studio for the failure of this one. They fucked this up. And that's what happens when you get greedy and just try to make a buck. But anyway, 4.5 out of 10 for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. What are your thoughts on the 5th installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise? Leave a comment down below, let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back in a few days with A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. God help me, I hope it's better than I remember. But until then, I hope you're all doing well out there. I'm just going to leave you with, bye.